So again, my name is Gwen Sorley. My background is in education. I have a master's in education, and I started using play attention with my clients back in 1996. So over the past 28, almost 29 years now, I've been using play attention with every age from about 5 years old all the way up through adulthood. So hopefully my experiences using play attention with a lot of different individuals will give you a better understanding of our program and the process. Now, as I look through the group of individuals who are here today, I see a lot of you have attended our webinars in the past. And if you have attended our webinars in the past, you know that we typically talk about topics that have to do with executive function. And we provide you lots of background information, but also tips and strategies. So we might talk about organization or time management or rejection sensitive dysphoria, or perhaps we're working on emotion regulation. So we always have some type of topic that is tied to executive function. And like I said, provide you with tips and strategies. And those tips and strategies are good. We want you to have those in your toolbox. And you may be thinking right now about different strategies you have to help you in different areas. But at some point, we have to get to the root cause. We have to start developing the foundational cognitive skills that are required for not only executive function, but to make certain that all of those tips and strategies work for you. Because if you think about some of the strategies you've tried in the past, it might be your calendar. You started January 2025 with your new calendar and you're really going to commit to using that calendar or a to-do list or the Pomodoro timer. And you've implemented these strategies and they may at times be really frustrating because they don't seem to work for you. And I was speaking with one of our clients a while ago, and she said, everyone tells me to just write a to-do list. And I can write a to-do list, right? That's not the problem. The problem is at the end of the day, I don't have anything done on that to-do list. So if you think about all of the strategies, all of the skills she needs in order for that to-do list to be effective, then that's what we need to address within your customized plan. So let's think about that to-do list. In order for you to have a to-do list that works, first we have to work on sustaining your attention so that when you start number one on that list, you're able to sustain your attention to number one until you complete it. We also have to work on impulse control so that you're not just starting number one and impulsively jumping to number three. We also have to work on filtering distractions. So when you start number one, you're not distracted by all of the environmental distractions, both auditory and visual around you. We also have to work on working memory so that you remember all of the steps in each of those agendas. So it's really important to keep in mind that it's not just a to-do list. It's not just a calendar. There are so many cognitive skills that you need in order to make those strategies work for you. And you may even think about this if you have a child and your child is in school and has ADHD and has a 504 plan, and the school has given you different tips and strategies, accommodations. And the accommodations, again, are good. We want those in place. However, we have to simultaneously teach your child skills because I can give your child longer test time. But unless I simultaneously teach your child how to sustain his attention so that he's able to really maintain attention to the test, how to process that information so that he can get what's in his mind down on paper. We have to also work on filtering distractions so they're not distracted by everything else going on in the room. We also have to make certain that they're able to stay in the present moment and have strong working memory. So all of those skills have to simultaneously be addressed in order for that longer test time to make sense and work for him or her and not just be a longer period of time to perhaps daydream or be off task. So let me know if that makes sense to you. Can any of you relate to that? Do you have some tips and strategies that you've been struggling with and you don't understand why they don't work for you or work for your child? And now we're going to talk about how to get to that root cause and start developing skills. Now, what we specialize in is helping you reach your goals. So you're all here today because you have a goal in mind, right? Especially now, the beginning of a new school year, we all kind of reflect on our goals for the new year, whether it's goals for ourselves, our children, our partners, our clients. So go ahead and tell me, what are some of your goals? Why are you here? You're all here for a reason. Are you here because you're an adult and you've been struggling with executive function and you want to actually work on some of those skills so you can be more productive? Are you here because you have a child who's really bright but has been struggling with executive function and not able to reach their full potential in the classroom? Are you a professional? Go ahead and type why you're here and what your goals are in the chat box so we can share those with others. And Leslie said she can definitely relate to the unfinished to-do list, right? And I think a lot of people here can relate to that, Leslie. Rita says she's here because she's an adult and she is striving to get a new job, but needs to be more productive and organized. Excellent. Leslie says she's a professional school counselor. Great. Um, Janice says she is here because she would like to help herself and her children develop executive function. Marissa is here because her daughter is very bright, twice exceptional, but has a hard time with emotion regulation, which interrupts her entire day. Susan says she's here for herself, who is an adult with ADHD. January, adult with ADHD, struggling with executive function, and it's sabotaging my new job. That goes back to what another individual here today said. Kashi says, I want to balance work and home life while teaching full time and studying for the 2025 North Carolina bar exam. Kashi, you have a lot going on there. Christine, to learn more about executive function for myself and my clients. Sherry, yes, adult professional with productivity issues at work. Lots of books and calendars, but nothing seems to work, even worse in menopause. And Sherry says to you, Kashi, that bar exams are tough. She's been there. And Sherry brings up an important point too, right? ADHD does present itself different throughout our lifetime. And if you are a woman here and you've been going through menopause, it does actually exacerbate some of those issues, some of the challenges. And so it's important that we all keep in mind what we know through neuroplasticity, that the brain is moldable, it's shapeable. And if we provide you with the right tools and the right challenge, you can create these new neural pathways that are required for strong executive function. We know that age is not a factor. We also know that labels like ADHD or autism or traumatic brain injury, they are not a factor. If we provide you the right challenge and immediate feedback, you can create these new neural pathways. And that's what we're going to focus on within your program. Natasha says she's an adult with ADHD, struggling with executive function at work. Colby says, I have three kiddos, gifted, twice exceptional, and ASD. As a parent, I'm driven to the crazy on the daily. I work at Mother's First Steps as well. Great. Steve, marriage and family therapist, needing to stay focused and use thought stopping mindfulness. I teach it and need to practice what I share. Very good. Well, Steve, we're going to talk about our special bundle that we have right now, and that's our mindful focus bundle, which is really going to focus in not only on these cognitive skills, but mindfulness as well. Great. And Kashi says, thanks, Sherry. Excellent. Colby says, my twice exceptional and ASD kiddos also have ADHD. Okay, so thank you for sharing. You notice that There are so many of you here, and I can't read them all, but that gives us a good idea of why you're here today. And a lot of you are having some shared experiences. And so, like I said, our goal is to develop a customized neurocognitive training plan, whether it's for a child or an adult, so that you can create these new neural pathways and reach your goals. We've been doing these neurocognitive training plans for 31 years now. And we were actually the pioneers in neurocognitive training. It was our founder, Peter Freer, who was working with both children and adults back in the 80s with weak executive function or ADHD. And he started researching different attention training techniques that were being done. And he came across the work that NASA was doing with their pilots and astronauts in their flight simulator training. So, what he found was that they were incorporating feedback technology with their simulator training. That means that while their pilots and astronauts were doing their simulator training, they were actually monitoring the brain states. And if the pilot or astronaut was very attentive, then all of the controls were very easy to use. Their job was easier, right? Because they were very attentive and all of the controls were automatic. However, if they started getting distracted or they started getting stressed, they weren't in that peak zone, then all of their controls became very sluggish and it was harder to do their job. So our founder thought, that's brilliant. If I can actually show my clients their attentive state in real time while working on all of the cognitive skills we need every day, then I have a comprehensive program. And that is the very foundation of play attention. So, what makes us unique and effective is what we teach and how we teach it. Play Attention is the only program available that integrates feedback technology with cognitive skill training and behavior shaping to provide you with the most comprehensive approach available. So you see here on my screen, this individual is wearing our body wave armband. And some of you may have already seen this, but this is our body wave armband. On the back, there are 3 sensors. And when I slide this armband on my arm, those sensors are now monitoring my brain activity that tells us how attentive I am. And then that information is given over to the computer where I'm allowed to control all of the cognitive exercises just with my mind, or more specifically, my attention alone. And I receive constant and immediate feedback as to whether or not I truly am focused and paying attention. And that is a really powerful first step in the learning process. Because right now, if you think about when you talk to your child or your partner or your clients, or you may even experience this yourself with others, when you look at your child and you say, I need you to pay attention, what do you typically hear back? If you hear, I need you to pay attention, what is the typical response? Go ahead and type the response in the chat box because I want to see if you're hearing or maybe even saying what I typically heard when I was working with clients. That's right, January. Exactly. January says, I am, LOL, but Sherry says, I am, angrily. And Kamisha says, but I am. Kashi says, I am paying attention. Right, exactly. That's what we typically hear or say. I am paying attention. And you may really think that you are, but you may just not have developed what it takes for you personally. So, what we're doing is we're taking that very abstract concept of attention and we make it concrete and controllable. Now you actually see your attention, you feel what you're doing, and you're allowed to practice not only just attention, but all of the other cognitive exercises that are, or cognitive skills that are typically weakest for individuals with attention difficulties or ADHD. And so you will notice as we go through this program today that all of our cognitive exercises are brain enabled, meaning you have to be paying attention in order to activate the exercise. If you're not paying attention, and remember, it's being monitored with this body wave armband. If you are not paying attention, then the activity will stop or the character will go in the wrong direction, and you have to focus back in order to continue. And the reason we do this is because we know that there are three catalysts required for brain change, right? When we talk about strengthening executive function, we're talking about sparking brain change. And brain change doesn't just occur. There have to be certain catalysts in place in order for that brain change to be sparked. And these are the catalysts that are incorporated within play attention. So the very first catalyst necessary for brain change is attention, right? You can have a great teacher, you can have a great counselor or life coach. But if you're having a hard time paying attention to that individual or the process, it's very hard to get maximum benefit. So that's why we make certain that no matter what you're working on within play attention, you are actively engaged. Also, we know there has to be challenge because although we would love it if we came into a session and everything we tried was just super easy for us, right? We were 100% successful. That's what we like. But if we're 100% successful, then we're not sparking any brain change because we've already mastered it. So we have to have challenge. So when you put that body wave armband on, we're only looking at your best ability to pay attention, and the bar is set there. If you're able to reach or exceed that level of attention, then you can activate the exercise. If you're able to maintain that level for a given number of seconds, then in the background, we raise the bar just a little bit. And now you have to be that much more attentive in order to be successful. So there's that challenge. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but I don't want my child to be frustrated because he's already frustrated in the classroom or at home. So we accommodate for that as well. So let's say that you start getting a little fatigued and you're not able to reach that same level of attention. Then we bring you back down to your last successful level and we gradually build you up. So our auto adjust algorithm is always keeping you at a challenging yet success based pace. And finally, deliberate practice. So we know that if you just come into your session and you go through the motions, you're not going to learn anything. So there has to be a deliberate practice model. So when you log in, Sheer Genius, our artificial intelligence, is going to set a mini goal for each exercise based on your previous performance. So when January logs in, Sheer Genius is going to look at January's data and say, okay, January, yesterday you completed time on task with 70% attention. Today, let's try 72%. And if you do that, you earn a point, and the point goes into your reward system. So that is very important that we set those mini goals so you're always striving for higher levels of performance. So again, three catalysts required for sparking brain change, and they're all incorporated into your play attention program: attention, challenge, and deliberate practice. So now, as I mentioned earlier, we've been doing this integration of feedback technology with cognitive skill training and behavior shaping for 31 years. But Tufts University School of Medicine also wanted to know, is the integration we do important? Or can we just simply give you a series of cognitive exercises, or what you hear a lot about as brain games or brain training apps, and get the same results? So they had three different groups of individuals, all identified as ADHD. The first group received play attention, so they had full integration. The second received just cognitive exercises, so brain games on the computer, no feedback technology, and no behavior shaping. And the third was their control, so they received no intervention at all. And at the end of the study, the play attention individuals were the only individuals that showed global improvements in all areas. So that means transfer and generalization of the skills learned, not just getting better in the exercises, but actually applying what they learned. So they showed global improvements in all areas, including academic, social, behavioral, and executive function. They were also the only individuals that if they started the study and they were on medication, because some of them were on, some of them were not. But if they were on medication and in the play attention group, those individuals had an average decrease in their medication, where the other two groups had an average increase. And that goes back to skill building. We didn't talk about medication earlier, but medication works for many people by controlling symptoms. The challenge is that medication doesn't teach any skills or change behaviors. So we don't want to medicate and fail to educate. We want to use this time to help you develop the skills. And that's what play attention can do. It can teach the skills that medication alone cannot teach. Um, Anika, you may have said this, but can you please explain the bundle that ends today? I am Annika, I guess I think I pronounced that incorrectly. I am going to go into that bundle. I think Steve will be really interested in that as well because he's focused on mindfulness, staying in the present moment. And I'm going to talk about that at the end of the webinar as well. Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. Now, like I said, all of the cognitive exercises are controlled with your attentive state. And I want to actually share with you one of the exercises so you get an understanding of that feedback. And before I actually switch my screen and show you one of the exercises in action, I want to do a quick poll because it's really important that we are all on the same page. So right now you should see a poll up on your screen. If you don't worry, I'm going to read it to you and you can type in your response. But if you see the poll, you can go ahead and plug in your answer. So my question is, before I demonstrate this in action, what does this body wave armband monitor? Is it A, eye movement, B, breathing, C, brain activity, or D, FM radio? What does that body wave armband monitor? Is it A, eye movement, B, breathing, C, brain activity, or D, FM radio? All right, I'm going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1. And I'm going to end it. Okay, so I'm glad I asked that question because 88% of you responded correctly. So I'm going to reiterate what this body wave armband monitors. The body wave armband is monitoring brain activity, not breathing, not eye movement. Because think about what attention is. Attention does not originate with breathing or eye movement, right? Attention originates in the brain. So if I'm going to show you your attentive state in real time, we have to be monitoring brain activity. Your breathing can help, right? You might do some breathing exercises that helps you refocus, and that's a good strategies to use. But breathing is not indicative of attention. We have to look at the actual brain activity. That's what that body wave armband is looking for. It's looking for that moment when you are in that peak attentive state, and it's showing you in real time. So I'm going to share with you right now, actually, so that you get a better understanding of the feedback loop. Okay. So let me switch my screen here. And just know, as I switch my screen and I go over to the actual play attention program itself, you are going to be able to continue typing in your questions. However, know that I can no longer see your questions. So I will have to answer your questions after I'm done with the demonstration, okay? But please do continue to type in your questions. So right now, you should see the Play Attention program on your screen. Remember, I'm wearing that body wave armband that's monitoring my attentive state. These are all of the different cognitive exercises that we can incorporate into your program. Now, keep in mind, you will not need all of them. Your clients won't need all of them. Your children won't need all of them. That's where the customization comes in. And you will all be assigned a personal focus coach. That's one of our coaches here on staff who is there to assist you every step of the way. So the very first thing that person does is evaluate your specific needs and sets up your profile to pinpoint the different cognitive exercises that are most important for you. So now what is important to remember is that no matter what you're working on, whether it's attention stamina or time on task or working memory, you have to be paying attention. If you're not paying attention, then the activity will stop. or the character will go in the wrong direction, and you have to focus back in order to continue. Okay? So now I'm going to share with you attention stamina. This is teaching you how to direct and sustain your attention at will, much like being able to pay attention to the teacher in the classroom or your colleagues in the workplace. Now, I can choose from different characters, but one is this dolphin. Now, when I click play, the very first thing you're going to see is a transition screen. So in a moment, you're going to see your game is loading, and that is just helping me transition from our conversation into the actual exercise itself. So once we get past this screen, you're going to see my character at the top of the screen,
Focus.
and my attention here is white. And I'm going to turn my volume down just a little bit so you can still hear me. So my character's at the top, remember, because I'm distracted, I'm talking to you. So now I'm going to stop our conversation. I'm going to focus in on my task at hand. And once I'm paying attention to my task, I'm going to be able to swim him all the way down to the bottom of the ocean just with my attention alone. Now that's as low as he goes. Now notice what happens when I distract myself. Immediately he starts to float up because I'm no longer as attentive. And distraction could be a variety of things. It could be daydreaming. It could be someone walking into the room and I can't filter that noise. It could be anxiety, whatever it may be. I get that immediate feedback. Now I know I have to control that behavior, control that daydreaming, focus in. So you see, it's kind of like a piece of exercise equipment for the brain. We're working areas that right now are challenging. So now, by providing you with that constant and immediate feedback regarding your attentive state, you're able to develop the self-regulation and self-monitoring you need in order to recognize when you're paying attention, recognize when you're not paying attention, and more importantly, when you're not, you'll know how to correct it because you've actually had an opportunity to practice it, right? Because if you think about how we typically try to teach attention, it's usually through lecture, right? We say, sit still, eyes on me, pay attention. We try to tell you what to do. You try to tell your child. But how many times has your child heard, sit still, pay attention, eyes on me? It doesn't make a change. We have to allow you to experience it. And that's the power of neurotechnology. You can actually see your attentive state in real time. Now, one thing you probably noticed are graphics. That's about as exciting as they get. All of our graphics are very simple. They are very low stimuli. And the reason for this is because we know if we give you something high stimuli or high interest, you can pay attention to that. We don't need to teach you how to pay attention to entertainment or high stimuli. You got that. What we need to teach is what's more challenging, and that's how to pay attention to low stimuli, much like the classroom teacher or the workplace, where we have to be able to sustain our attention to much lower stimuli. So that's why all of our graphics are designed that way, so that you can learn how to pay attention to that low stimuli at will. And then all of your data will be stored for you. So if you look at my data here, it says that I worked for 1 minute and 24 seconds. Of that time, I was actually paying attention 30% of the time. And my recovery speed, which is from the time I lost my attention to the time I regained it, was right at about 12 seconds. Now, sheer genius, the artificial intelligence, is going to take that information and use that information to not only document your progress, but to set that deliberate practice model, right? So the next time I log in, sheer genius is going to say, okay, yesterday you completed this with 30% attention. Today, let's try 32%. And if you do that, you're in a point. Then we're also tracking your benchmarks. So Sheer Genius is going to look at benchmarks and then graduate you from bronze to silver to gold medal. And as we move you up, we're going to tie in more processes required for executive function, such as processing speed, impulse control, distractors, and mental flexibility. So this means there are certain times you're going to have to use the mouse or the keyboard to respond to certain stimuli, but you're still driving everything with your attention. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our original sharing here. Let me see if I can get back here. All right. And there we go. You should be able to see. Colby says, my internet lagged at the beginning. Will we receive a certificate of completion? Sure, I can do that for you. All right. So I hope that was really understandable to you, where you actually saw how I was controlling that screen character just with my attentive state. And I was receiving that real time feedback. Now, that was just attention stamina. Remember, there are several different cognitive skill areas that we can work on within your program. Because remember, attention is just the tip of the iceberg. There are many other cognitive skills that are required and lay the foundation for strong executive function. Because when we look at your customized plan, yes, we're developing cognitive control in all of these individual skills. However, the end goal is to develop that cognitive control in each of those individual skill areas so that we can strengthen executive function. And I know that many of you here today are very familiar with that term executive function. But for those of you who are not as familiar, keep in mind that executive function is is a set of mental processes that we use every single day. So you can think about executive function as kind of like the CEO of your brain. It's what allows you to control your attention, your behaviors, your emotions. It allows you to plan and prioritize, organize, avoid procrastination, and remain on task. So it's a set of mental processes that we use in order to complete tasks every day. However, executive function tends to be weakest for individuals with attention difficulties. And no one is born with strong executive function, but we all have the potential to develop it. And that development starts right after birth and continues through our mid to late 20s. Unfortunately, we expect everyone to have strong executive function by the time they hit middle school. And that development doesn't always naturally happen. There are a lot of factors that can inhibit that development, one of which is ADHD. And so that may explain for some of you here, because there were a couple of you here who said that your children are twice exceptional. So they are gifted and talented and also ADHD, or they also have autism. And so they're very bright, but they're struggling in school oftentimes because of weak executive function. And so that's why you may see in early school years, your children are so bright, or you may think back to your past and say, gosh, in those early years, I did really well. But around middle school, that's where things started to fall apart. You can do well when you can easily compensate because you're so bright. And then when things get a little bit more difficult and you're expected to be more independent and organized, that's where the challenges begin. But remember, no matter where you are in life, whether you are 5 years old or 16 or 66, we know through neuroplasticity that we can create these new neural pathways. Sherry says, noticing if I divert my attention while listening to this meeting, to text my hubby to pick up a prescription on his way home, the volume on meeting goes down until I return to the Zoom screen only. Well, that is interesting. So you are in a feedback loop already, aren't you, Sherry? So now, when we look at all of the different cognitive skills, let's talk about these because these are important when thinking about what your plan would look like, or your child's, or your client's. So the core cognitive skills that are included in the program are attention stamina. That's your ability to direct and sustain your attention at will. We also work on visual tracking. This is a great one. Let's say if the teacher's ever said, He does great when I stand right next to him, but as soon as I walk away, he's out the window and out the door, and then he has that diffused attention. So we work on staying focused and visually tracking. I also like this for driving, being able to stay very focused and visually track while you're driving. Task completion. This is one of our most popular ones. This is the ability to start and complete in a timely manner. So that 15 minutes of homework takes 15 minutes and not 2 or 3 hours. Or for adults, oftentimes we'll hear, I start a million things or I finish nothing. And, or you may feel like you're so exhausted at the end of the day because you've been busy all day long, but you really didn't finish anything. So we're going to work on starting and completing. Short-term memory is the ability to remember dates, names, facts. We also work on filtering distractions, both auditory and visual, because that's often a challenge. It's not really a deficit of attention, right? You have great attention. The problem is you're paying attention to bits and pieces of everything. So we're going to work on staying focused and filtering out all of the unnecessary stimuli. And we also have an exercise called Academic Bridge, which really focuses in on that transfer and generalization. This is where we're asking you to take all of the skills you've learned within play attention and apply them to your schoolwork or your office work. And so you'll notice here that my client has the body wave armband on, and she's not looking at the screen. She's actually working on her report. As long as she's paying attention to her report, she's going to hear from the computer, good, great. If she starts to drift, she'll hear focus, and then she knows she's not in that state she needs to be in order to process and complete. So this is really critical, teaching you through real-time feedback how to self-regulate while doing your actual work. And your focus coach will work with you to make certain we incorporate what's important for you. So I've worked with some of my clients, younger clients, like the one you see on the screen, who we incorporate homework. I've worked with a high school English teacher, and we work on grading papers while maintaining a high peak attentive state. I work with one woman who's in her 70s and she's a day trader. So she uses this while she's trading. So she only makes her trades in her peak attentive state. So a really critical part of that process. We also have a variety of masterclass modules available that you can pick and choose from at any time and incorporate these into your program. Now, keep in mind, Annika asked about our mindful focus bundle that we're running right now. And usually Play Attention comes standard with the first 6, and the remaining that you see here are options that you can purchase and add in at any time. But with the mindful focus bundle, you're going to receive all of these exercises with your core program. So that's great because especially if you're working with multiple family members or multiple clients, you'll have access to all of the exercises so that we can further customize the plans. Working memory, that is one of our most popular masterclass modules. That's the ability to take in information, hold that information in order to complete a task. It helps with reasoning, evaluating, comprehension. Auditory processing helps with the ability to follow through with multiple step verbal instructions. Hand-eye coordination is more about small motor control. Social skills is for anyone who has a hard time picking up on social cues. They miss the look, they miss the shake of the head, so they end up responding inappropriately or impulsively. Spatial memory is remembering where things are located. So if you're constantly losing your keys or your wallet or your water bottle, that's a great one. We have mental math for first graders and second graders. Mindfulness. Now, this goes back to that mindfulness and being able to stay in the present moment. And we hear so much about how mindfulness helps with the symptoms of ADHD and anxiety, and that's true. However, we can't look at someone with ADHD and say, now I want you to practice being mindful because mindfulness is hard. It's hard for all of us, but especially if you have that running mind. So, what we do is we give you a visual representation of what it means to be in the present moment. So, in this particular program, you'll see a lotus flower in the middle of the screen. Once you have your mind in the present moment, you're able to start opening the petal on the flower. If you start thinking, When's my next appointment? Who do I have to call? What do I have to pick up after work? That pedal starts to close because you're no longer in the present and you have to bring yourself back in order to continue. So that's really powerful because instead of saying to you, distractions will happen, just accept them and let them go. It's easier said than done, right? Now we're giving you a visual representation to further enhance that practice and allow you to really develop that skill of staying in the present moment. And then finally, motor skills. That's a great one for anyone who has more bumps, bruises, accidents than their peers. It helps with mind body coordination. Kashi says, I wish we could use something like this with students in school. Well, you absolutely can, Kashi. Our professional version is available for schools, and many schools have play attention in place. I actually have used play attention in several different school settings and would be happy to talk to you about that as well. All right. Now, those are all of the cognitive skills. We discussed about 14 different cognitive exercises that we can incorporate into your program. And like I said, your focus coach is going to help customize your plan. Now, some of you may be thinking, check, 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 and you already know what you would like your plan to look like. But for those of you who would like a little bit more information, we have a couple of assessments available. The play attention assessment is our ADHD test, which is online. If you haven't taken that yet, you can go ahead and type in test, and I will make certain you get the link for the ADHD test online. That's going to ask you a series of questions about yourself or your child or your clients, and you can just answer those questions. And then at the end, you'll receive a report that will say, this is what we recommend for your program: attention stamina, time on task, mindfulness. So you may want to take that assessment. We always like to start with that first when we're customizing your plan with your focus coach. So if you'd like me to send you that assessment, just type in test and I'll send you the link for that. If you want a little bit more detailed look at your attention and executive function, we also have two optional assessments. Now, these are add-ons. The focus assessment is a norm reference test of attentional control. It is computer-based and it takes 20 minutes. At the end of the assessment, you receive a full report that tells you how, or that tells us how you performed compared to the performance of your peers. We look at four different constructs of attention. We look at performance, consistency, impulse control, and your ability to deal with distractors, both auditory and visual. So that's one. That's more objective because it's data driven, right? It's computer based assessment. You respond to certain stimuli. The other is the brief, which is a behavior rating inventory of executive function. That is a series of questions, and it gives us a full report at the end that assesses your executive function on a day-to-day basis. So that's more subjective because it's based on experience and observation. So again, the ADHD test is our test available online, which will give you a breakdown of what cognitive exercises would be best for your program. And many of you have typed in test, and I'll send you that link. And just know if you submit it once for yourself, but then you want to submit another one for your child or children or partner, you can continually put in those assessments, and then we'll have document of all of the different cognitive exercises for each individual. If you want more information on the focus or the brief assessments, you can let me know. You can just type in focus. I'll follow up with a little bit more information. Those are much more detailed analysis of your attentional control and executive function. Those are available. They are $50 a piece, and we do need about a 40-minute block of time afterwards to review the results. So you can type in focus if you want to look more at those norm reference tests of attentional control. Okay. All right, so let's talk about your play attention program. Once we customize your plan, whether we just do the ADHD assessment or test online, or you do a focus or brief, or some of you may have already gone through a neuropsych evaluation and you want to share that information with us, those are great because they're about 28-page long assessment results, and we can use that information to further pinpoint the cognitive exercises for you. Now, with your program, you're going to have everything you need to run your program. So you'll have your body wave armband, your neurocognitive training plan. You'll also have a full behavior shaping component, which I didn't bring up, but we'll turn this on for any of you that have self-distracting behaviors, fidgeting, nail biting, skin picking, if your child chews on her shirt. That behavior shaping is so powerful because play attention gives you a one-to-one correlation on how certain behaviors affect your attention. And then we can use that to help you start to learn how to control those behaviors. You again will have your own focus coach assigned to you, someone to assist you every step of the way. You have the AI written within the program that's always customizing your plan, but you're also going to have a real live person who's going to take you through an onboarding session, which is your practice session, and then follow up with you weekly just to make certain you're staying on track. And then you also have no reoccurring fees. So let's talk about what your session will look like. Okay. Once your focus coach sets up your profile and then also takes you through that onboarding, which is your practice session, then we do recommend that you work at least an hour per week. And that hour can be broken up. So if you're a professional and you're working with clients, you might want to do two 30-minute sessions. If you're a home client and you're doing this with yourself or your family, then a lot of our home clients like to do four 15-minute sessions. So let's say that you decided, okay, I'm going to do four 15-minute sessions weekly. That means when you log in, Sheer Genius is going to select three different exercises for that day based on previous performance. Not only that, but Sheer Genius is going to set that deliberate practice model. So they're going to have a mini goal for each exercise. Then you're going to log out and have a journal. So this is how your session will go. You log in, Sheer Genius will say, okay, Madeline, today we're going to work on attention stamina, time on task, and working memory. Not only that, but Madeline will have a mini goal for each exercise. So she logs in, she does her three exercises, she logs out, she fills out her journal, what she was proud of, what she learned that day, and then she's done. The next day, she goes in, does her three exercises, logs out, journal, done. That's the process you get into. Really streamlined, but very systematic at skill building. And you're going to start seeing good results after about 6 weeks of consistent training. You'll notice that you are more focused, that you're more productive, you're finishing things by the end of the day. You'll notice that you gave your child three verbal instructions and she followed through without being redirected or reminded. So you're going to start seeing these small steps of improvement. But the research shows in order to gain permanency, in order for us to know that not only will you have these skills now, but you'll have them throughout your lifetime, we have to work to that point of permanency. That usually takes about 40 hours total. So if you're working that hour per week, I would plan on about 10 months of consistent training. Now, everyone learns differently. So around that 40-hour mark, you're going to meet with your focus coach, and we're going to make certain you're at all the advanced skill options. We'll make certain everything's transferred and generalized. If everything looks good, we'll start graduating from the program. If it looks like there's more work to be done, we simply customize the plan and we keep going. What's important for you to remember is that no matter what, whether it takes you 10 months or 16 months, you own the program. Your support is unlimited. So we continue working as long as necessary. And even once you graduate, if you want to continue using it for peak performance, I have some clients here who use it in the beginning of the day if they have a big presentation. I have one colleague who uses it before he goes out on the tennis court every day. So you can always use it at those peak times. So just keep in mind, in order to actually reach your goals, you're going to have to do about 40 hours total. And Sheer Genius and your focus coach will be there to guide you through the entire process. And also, you will have access to all of your graphs and charts and data at your fingertips. So, of course, your focus coach will review and analyze your progress with you if you want a more more of a conversation about your progress, but you all have access to all of your data over time. So you're going to be able to see that progress. And again, many of you here today were telling me what your goals were. And just keep in mind, you can reach those goals. You can be more productive. Your child can actually reach their potential at school. You can have improved relationships, less anxiety. Your focus is better. Your processing speed is improved. Impulse control is controlled. So all of these outcomes can be achieved, but you do want to set up that hour per week. You can break that hour up, and in order to gain permanency, we're looking about 40 hours total. Now, we do have two different programs available, the home system and the professional system. The only difference between the home system and the professional system is in the user license. So the home system typically comes with that user license for 2 family members. So keep in mind, it is very rare that we only work with one family member. Usually it's at least one parent, at least one child, if not the entire family. Now it comes standard with 2, but with that focus bundle that we're running right now, you will actually have a user license for up to 5 family members. That means we will customize up to 5 family members program. You can always add on additional user licenses as well. The professional version comes with an unlimited user license. So if you're thinking about working with, 25 students tomorrow, Kashi, you can enroll all 25 of those individuals into your professional program. You can customize a plan for each individual, and there are no reoccurring licensing fees. So that's the difference between the home system and the professional system. They both come with all of those components that we discussed earlier. The home system is a one-time fee, which is $17.95, and the professional version is a one-time fee, which is $24.95. Now, if you have an HSA or an FSA, those typically will cover. Also, we do offer payment plans through Affirm, and some of our clients also use PayPal over time. So if you wanted to break up those payments, but keep in mind, that is a one-time fee. So that $17.95 for multiple family members is a one-time fee. The professional version, $24.95, you can enroll as many clients into your program over the years, and that is a one-time fee. And with that bundle that we're running right now, we've touched on it a little bit throughout, but we are extending this bundle. It was supposed to end today. But we are extending this bundle for our webinar attendees so that you will be able to take advantage of that free focus, the Mindful Focus bundle. And with that Mindful Focus bundle, you will have your user license. If you're a home program, you're going to have a user license for 5 family members instead of just 2. And we're going to customize the plan for each individual. Also, instead of your program including just the 6 core cognitive exercises, you're going to have access to all of our mindfulness, all of our additional cognitive exercises, which are in our masterclass, and you will have no additional cost. So this is about a $650 value that's incorporated into your program. Okay. Susan says, can you upgrade to the professional later? Absolutely. That is a great question, Susan. You can upgrade to the professional version anytime. So if you start with the home system, get your experience with your family members, and then you can just pay the difference and upgrade to the professional system. Even if you had, let's say, 3 family members and 2 clients you wanted to enroll with that 5 license, you can do that. And Susan, I'd be happy to explain that whole process if you want to do a meeting later, talk to you about how to do the upgrade, but just know that you can do that at any time. And our next webinar, those are always posted on our website, but our next webinar is the Mindful Partner, where we're going to talk about how to use mindfulness to improve relationships, both personal and professional. But thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate your time, and we look forward to working with you in the very near future. Thanks so much, everyone.